Hey, this is Nikki, and I'm going to do a recap for RuPaul's Drag Race season, oh goodness, what is it, 12? Season 12, episode 1, I'm That Bitch. So if you have, normally part of our channel, John is not doing this recap. He drew a line somewhere and was like, you got what you got, I added 90 days, he's not doing this one. If you have not been to my channel before, I mostly recap the show because I want someone to talk to about this show. I've watched it since the beginning. I've watched all the seasons multiple times. I almost said Project Catwalk, which is the Project Runway version, but I did the RuPaul Drag Race UK, and I'm just a consumer. I'm not part of the drag culture, obviously. I was gonna do full makeup and everything, and then yesterday was a huge mess, so you get lipsticks and a little bit of eyes. So I'm just gonna talk about the show. That's all there is to it. All of these, I was super impressed with the quality of. I honestly didn't know. So there's going to be spoilers. So if you haven't watched an episode, don't watch this. This is just me talking about it. I don't have any fancy editing. I don't have cool sunglasses. I just like the show. This is just my opinions. So I was really super impressed with this group of queens. So I didn't watch any of the interviews. I had to draw a line somewhere, and so for me, I watched the show. I did watch the Meet the Queens, and Jackie was the one who stood out to me the most as someone I wanted to get to know as an entertainer. And then lots of you don't really know where people are. I tend to like campy queens, comedy queens, entertainers. I love comedy queens. So Bianca Del Rio, Bob the Drag Queen, Trixie and Katya, just the entertainers where I can just listen to them talk. And for me, it's a very small group of people. I think I might have mentioned them. Most of them, I don't necessarily tend to be very impressed with when their full thing is oh, look how much they look like traditional values of femininity. Okay, but there's lots of beautiful women, so it's not as impressive to me. I tend to like a strong point of view, like a Kimchi or a Trixie, where we're redefining. But anyway, and I'm trying to separate things that I personally like from things that I think. So I may have a preference for a comedy queen, but it doesn't mean that I think that the pageant queens or the fishy queens, if that's still a term that they use, should be eliminated. So I'm going to try to keep that separate. So we have Brita comes in. It's a solid look. It's they're Polynesian, and frankly, if Brita goes home, I don't know who's going to be doing all the interviews, because half of the interviews were with Brita. Lots of opinions, all that. Then we go kind of the opposite way. Nicky Doll, which I remember as being all forehead, from Paris, has that really strong accent, which do make for interesting interviews because there's clearly words they don't know in English, they don't know how to pronounce it. So Widow Von'Du, who I wrote down as Window Von'Du, and did that the entire episode, so I apologize. You would think I would understand when they made the joke, when Jackie made the joke about, oh, I'm so sorry, when she said it was Widow. I was like, oh, that's so funny, she misheard her. So there we have two Missouri queens, which is interesting. Jackie Cox, which I've always been surprised that Cox isn't used more often in drag names. Persian, kind of campy, but some of our campy queens are not necessarily fashion queens, and that is not what we see from Jackie. For me, this is a strong contender. We'll have to see how things shake out. So it doesn't matter how beautiful you look. For me, it's about how entertaining are they to watch. And I say this every season, that there's two competitions going on. There's a competition for the money, and there's a competition for America's heart. And though I think the money is awesome, I think you really want to win America's heart, or the world's heart, because what that creates is you're auditioning for a future career. So Trixie before All Stars and Katya are probably the best example, in that they did not win their initial season, but propelled them to fame. I don't know how much that YouTube money is, that their money is, but that I think is what is often overlooked by the queens when they're competing, is that it's not just about getting to that round. A lot of it is about screen time, and I watch a lot of YouTube, and is pretty much the only ones I'll watch. I watch them Bob the Drag Queen videos when they pop up, and Ben de la Creme, not Ben de la Creme, and I think I said Ben de la Creme earlier and I meant Bianca Del Rio. So we'll have to see about that. But I do like Ben de la Creme, but not, you know, not as much as Bianca. But a lot of the queens that were interested in the show, I try to watch their stuff and it's just kind of all over the place, and so I think that's really, I kind of got off track on that. Anyway, what I was saying is that you kind of have to be entertaining, because unless you just make money off of appearances, which I don't know anything about the finances of being a drag queen. I don't know if you can, if it's like being a stand-up comic where you do it because you love it, but you're not really making money until you're getting into like Netflix special kind of things. Anyway, we have Heidi in the closet. It's got the tooth gap. Did the tongue trail. Gigi Good came in as a pirate, kind of fashion. They call it like an Insta Queen. Instagram. And then Crystal Method does the clown makeup, loves the makeup. Very strong point of view on the makeup. So I like when they do this, when they split it up, because otherwise you are in episode 3 or 4 and you're like, who's that? Who is that? You see someone out of drag and you're like, I honestly don't know, because drag is so versatile and how their physical appearance looks. It can be hard, for me at least, I don't have great facial recognition abilities, to when they go from look to look to look, to follow who the queens are unless they put their name at the bottom. That's just, I'm not great with faces. That's just kind of my thing. But I like when they split them in half. And when we get to the end, I like the final choice for how they handled it. I have 2 pet peeves for me right now. One is drag queens and boobs. A lot of the boobs were like up here or out here or down, and I'm kind of examining my feelings, because I don't have a problem with drag that is essentially gender fluid, but I kind of feel like if you're going to do the illusion of a female breast, there should be the illusion of a female breast, or don't. But I always find it jarring when you see the man chest. And I'm trying to kind of examine, like, am I being closed-minded to new methods of drag, or is this a valid whatever? So it's not the kind of thing that I would say you have to go because of that. But I feel like if you can point out things like a beard showing or things that break the illusion, I think it's worth considering. But then you have queens like Anjana who never wears a wig, and that's part of their look. So I'm kind of examining that. But the other are eyebrows, because they are out of control. And they are out of control everywhere. Like everywhere I go, like it's hard, black, sharpied, and I'm not crazy about them. I think it's kind of like, if you're going to go do all the work of contouring the face to make it appear more feminine, then drawing in like a ½ inch. Now, admittedly though, I see that biological woman, I see that woman everywhere with the like they draw them like big like quotation marks, and then they fill them in solid. I see that all the time, and I'm like, am I supposed to be doing that? Do I look like 90 because I have natural brows? So I'm kind of torn, because on one hand, I think that I don't like that harsh of a brow. I like like when, I think it was like Sasha Velour, I like that interpreted. Valentina had with the little lines, and I don't mind that. But something about the super, super harsh one, Widow had. Okay, so they do a spring show, a fall show, and everyone looked amazing. There was not super weak looks, at least to me. Brita had a gorgeous gown, was pulled together. Nicky had a lilac dress. Kind of giving me that weird boob thing, but there's a lot of really slender women who have chests like that. Widow had a hip-hop look, which I thought was a strong, like they said, it was the Missy Elliott, brings you back to that. Jackie, I loved it. What did I say? Love it. Oh, I said it was very Palm Springs, but it was very like height of you know, Palm Springs. Heidi had a headpiece which fell off. And so, excuse me, so that's kind of a knock for her. Gigi was pastel NASCAR. Crystal had a jumpsuit and had that same really strong point of view makeup that we saw in the entrance. And then I put eyebrows are nuts, then we get to the fall look, and I kind of noted like Brita, like this is the same dress. Now Bianca Del Rio won the whole season with the same dress, so, and Brita has technically a lot of character, so, you know, kind of like don't rely on your body, don't rely on that personality. Nicky, we have Paris Fashion Week, Widow. The neck for me, it was this sort of nude and it was nice, but the neck was like, right, like the bust line was like up here and it felt like it was floating around her, Widow's body, which I'll mention again. It's not the size of her body, it's the way that the clothes were very disconnected from her outline. And so that was a little, to me, like she had lost 50 pounds or her neck had shrunk or something. Just, there was a disconnect for me. Jackie looked nice. Heidi, so one of the things is Gigi has like it was, if you watched Drag Race UK, there was a similar look. I'm not going to go through my notes and find it, with like the equestrian kind of feeling, but the completely exposed check with the little pasties, and it's always like that's man chest to me. Now, is that necessarily a criticism? It's not my favorite look. Is it the kind of thing someone should go home on? No, not alone. So they have to wrap for a single. You can hear my son downstairs. Don't worry, he has all sorts of family there. Heidi apparently had an allergic reaction. They talk a little bit about, both Nicky and Jackie talk about what it meant to be gay in countries where it was illegal. They talk a little bit about voting, which seems to be the theme of the whole season. There you go. So they do this wrap. This is where I talk about Gigi's boobs being really out here. They were like, boom here. And it was just, to me, it was distracting. Didn't seem to distract anyone else. Heidi and Widow were standouts for their dance moves. And there was a whole drama that ended up being nothing, with like, oh, Widow, you should choreograph. Okay, well, here's all my stuff. Well, I don't think we like any of that. And so there was a little bit of drama about, you know, they're going to throw her to the bus. None of that came out. That kind of went nowhere. They had a sparkle runway. So this is our 4th outfit that we've seen this episode. Crystal had a very different outfit, but she was dressed as the devil, but with the same makeup. Now, Kimchi always has the same makeup. Trixie did not have the same makeup in her original season. She toned it down, but in All Stars she went with this. So we'll have to see about that. Not crying about hair, but it's. Oh, I'm not crazy about the hair. Okay. I have all sorts of comments on here. I wasn't crazy about Heidi's hair. It was this white little, and it had thick jewels, and it just looked very wiggy to me, which is ridiculous because they all look wiggy. I mean, they're wigs. I mean, they're like this big. Like, that's clearly not hair, but there was something about it that felt very much like a doll wig. I don't know. I can't read any of my notes. Mask-like. I don't know what that means. Oh, what I didn't like about Widow's outfit is that it had these huge hips, which I don't mind, and it had these really wide shoulders, but the two were so close that instead of giving a really exaggerated, like, figure eight, and not figure, is figure eight, is that right? Hourglass? It was like the top was so low. It just feels really, I feel like a lot of Widow's clothes are really suffocating or something. But this is, to be clear, if you're like, oh my gosh, you are so proud, I am nitpicky because they were such a strong group. I genuinely was like, I don't know who's, they didn't say anything critical. I could not, that sparkle, I could not figure out who they were going to put on the bottom. So, for the rap, by the way, I'm sorry, I need to take better notes because I cannot read what I wrote. For the rap, I couldn't understand anyone. That's maybe I don't listen to enough rap, but luckily I had things in the bottom. I had a hard time really saying what was a great rap lyric and what wasn't. So they commented on Heidi's wig as well. She's allergic to kale. That's a joke. She's probably allergic to detergent. That's actually really common. I get hives, and it's almost always detergent or fabric softener. Usually, if you have sensitive skin, do not use fabric softener. You'll be itchy, especially if you get too hot or tired or drink. Any of those things can make it worse. I like that Crystal has a strong point of view. They're kind of questioning the makeup, and it's always one of those things where Brita really knows her shape well. Once you know your shape and you kind of know what silhouette works for you, you kind of do it all over and over again. I watched the RuPaul Masterclass that just came out because I have Masterclass. And in it, RuPaul talks with Zandy's, who's the designer, about what they do to give RuPaul the proportions that RuPaul has in costumes. And they do the same thing over. Like he talked about, maybe that's why I noticed the neck being covered up so much, as he talks about how, because of his really long legs, it starts to look weird if you don't have some balance. And so he opens up this neck and the shoulders. So RuPaul has a wide varieties of looks, but they all seem to, if you know what makes you look best, why wouldn't you keep doing it? So they're kind of like, oh, Crystal, are we going to see the same face every week? And you kind of go, well, yeah, but that's their point of view. And so I didn't know where they were going to go, because honestly, it seemed like they loved everyone. I'm not crazy about Widow's eyebrows. The performance was good. They liked the wrap. Nicky's traditional female look, kind of in the spirit of Courtney Act, where you go, oh wow, that's I don't think that tends to win, because they did that in the second season with Tyra, right? And it just didn't, I don't think that I think RuPaul has found that doesn't work as well in terms of a commercial. Someone just looking pretty, you can't do as much as you can with like a Bianca Del Rio, a Bob the drag queen, Katya. I mean, these are cash cows. They can just take anywhere, and people will show up just to see them. Let's see. Gigi had a helmet and a number of looks. Someone needs to sit down and show her a bunch of boobs, because she doesn't seem to have a clear idea of where boobs are. But maybe no one cares about that but me. And so basically, I genuinely went into this going, I have no clue who they're going to put at the bottom. And I think they felt the same way, which is why this last little bit worked out, which is they said Brita was in and Jackie was safe. And I go, okay, they haven't, normally they do one safe, and then they come down to the top two and they pick one. So when they had picked two that were safe, I was like, what's going on? And then Crystal was safe, and I'm like, something's not working. Are they not going to do? And then they had Gigi and Widow in the bottom, and I was like, there is no way. There's no way that they're in the bottom. I mean, I shouldn't say the bottom. They had them in the last two. And so the assumption is, based on every other season, is that these would be the two that would be in the bottom. And even now one thing I want to say about Gigi is, from the description of being kind of look queen, Gigi's more interesting to me than I thought she would be. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm a little intrigued. Now remember, Trinity the Tuck Taylor came in as a look queen, and then we found this amazing personality. Not that she said I have a bad personality, but like she discovered she could do comedy and all this kind of stuff. Gigi is very young, but has an entertainment background. So it's not just how young you are, it's how much experience you have. And that's why someone who's older can start, but you have all this experience, this lifetime of experience, and other things that you can kind of bring into it. Someone who starts really young might not have a lot of experience to bring into it, but if grew up in the theater, you can add quite a few years on to, like, sure, she's 21, but she might already come in with 6, 10, 15 years of theater experience, which, when you kind of grade on a curve because they were so young. Well, my point being that age and drag are not the only two, time in drag is not the only two factors when you take into consideration other performance experiences. Anyway, they're the top two queens. They're going to, and they get a 5K tip, which is something that we see in All Stars. I'm happy. I'm very happy with this decision, because I never like it when they split them in half and they send someone home, because you kind of feel like, what if you sent home like the middle of the pack? And then the next episode, I'm sure they try to kind of spread them evenly so you don't have all look queens and all performance queens or something like that, so I feel like it's somewhat even. But this group was so strong. I genuinely, like when I picked out the people who just on gut instinct I reacted to well, and I wanted to see more from, and then the other half, and I'm not going to say which is which, just really turned out some great performances or great looks or something. I was like, oh. So then when I kind of put them all back together in my mind, I was like, I don't want to get rid of any of these people. They performed so well, and they had 4 great looks, and there was for instance, Heidi's headdress fell off, and then the wig wasn't so great. I think wigs might be an area that where she has room for growth, but the performance was so good. I was like, okay, so someone who I thought was gonna be the bottom, you know, rose up and you go, I just don't even know. So what was really interesting to me, there was a couple things. I was kind of surprised Widow won, not because not a fierce queen and all that, but because the reveal, I wasn't crazy when they did the reveal, the way, and this is something I said earlier, the way the clothes sat on her body, and there's nothing wrong with her body, but the way the clothes disconnected from the body, what I found was it was like a swimsuit, sort of shape, but it kind of gaped here, and it had this neck piece, but the next piece gaped, and it just kind of felt like it wasn't made for her body, or I don't know, there might have been some disconnect, and then the shoes were off, and so I kind of felt like the performance, and we're really nitpicking, we are splitting hairs, we are saying the top 2 who both killed it on the lip sync, but this is where my bias comes in, because I'm not as excited with death drops and splits as I am with, I thought Gigi had a very good comedic. So for me, Gigi would have won. I'm not upset with Widow winning. This is, like I said, we're splitting hairs. This is like the difference between just excellent and excellent. So I do not have any problems with, my biggest issue is if they had cut someone, I don't even know who they would have cut. They had such great things to say, although it's always fun when they have a really opinionated guest who disagrees with Michelle. Because they always cut to Michelle being like, you know, and that's always fun. And Nicki Minaj, I don't know if I mentioned that, was the guest, had a lot of opinions on raps, seemed to have more, seemed to disagree mostly with Michelle Visage, but I don't think any of them were so bad that they really needed to be called out. And which line was the best is really, I liked Jackie's because she made a reference to parody lyrics and Weird Al, and so I'm won over by Jackie. But such a strong group. I cannot imagine next week what are we gonna do if we have, is it 6 more? 6 more that come in this strong? Like, I don't know what we're gonna do, because it's gonna be just an absolute travesty to lose any of them. So I'm hoping what we see is that week 2, the same deal, we keep all 6, and then week 3, I don't know, the wheels have to come off of someone, because if we're like nitpicking the way we are, like already, like they were saying, Jackie, that the beard was showing through the makeup, and so that's kind of why I'm like, okay, then I can be picky about boobs and eyebrows. I don't know what we're gonna do. So do you have any early standouts? I'm actually excited about all of them. I'm kind of excited. Jackie right off the bat, I love the campy queen. But it's like campy, but it's such a good, like if I go get my book on fashion throughout the ages and I opened up to these time periods, these would be the best fashion looks from that time period. So just because it's retro doesn't necessarily mean that it's not good. So anyway, hit me up, tell me who you like, who you don't like, and all that. Thank you. Bye.